banning Bard and Azir, while on the T1 side, it's Yunara and Orianna taken off the table.
And I want to see Tarzan on something where he can be proactive in the early game. It felt like it was a very, very quiet early game from him, and almost every time Tarzan kind of joins a team, he becomes the soul of that team in the early game. How aggressive he can be, how he can dictate how early kills are going. But weren't able to get much out of him in the last one. We'll have to see if he can bounce back.
As far as jungle, there's a lot of power picks up at the moment. Wukong, the Jarvan as well, and Xin Zhao, all really highly prized. Personally, I'm a big fan of Wukong. I just think that team fighting on this champ is so incredible. Although, of course, your pre-6 influence isn't the biggest, but I still think the payoff is definitely there.
Wukong actually has not been played yet by Tarzan at this event. In the 5 games that AL played to get to the quarterfinals, they didn't have to use that champion a single time. We'll see if that changes here, but no, the priority instead is going to be on the Poppy. 7 wins and 3 losses on this one. It's been a very successful champ so far.
Yeah, and it's a flexible pick, so opening up with it as first pick is definitely viable. And now you don't have to continue to ban that one of Keria champs. The Poppy definitely pairing well with the Bard as well as the Nico bans that usually find him. But he's just going to slam a Nautilus very quickly into it.
I mean, you think back to MSI, and it was actually Oner who was able to snipe Kael on the Poppy over the wall with that Skarner ultimate and turn things around for them. So we'll have to see if T1 trying to opt in towards a similar strategy, but I like it. Go for the hook champion, the value's still there into a potential Poppy flex, and then again, you can opt in towards more range stuff if you want to here, but it looks like it's going to be the Xin Zhao for Oner.
Yeah, and speaking of the Poppy, Kael had a very good one at this particular tournament as well, as we talked about in game number 1 versus Gen G. But as we say, doesn't have to go into the support role this early on. So let's take a look as we progress. Are we going to get the Wukong? I really do think it is just so exceptional for these team fights. And AL already, these first couple of picks, I think, are setting themselves up with a really insane-o team fight.
I agree, and I think that's where a lot of the focus is going to be now, in trying to deny a lot of T1 any sort of pressure that can go on towards the Sivir. Like, dive is already going to be alleviated a lot thanks to both the Wukong and the Poppy. But I don't think, like, unless T1 will opt in towards things like the Hui and maybe some of these more long-range AD carries, I think you should be fine as AL to just find these big team fights as you start to roll on through.
Okay, clock ticks down, and it looks like T1, alongside that Xin Zhao and Nautilus, they'll go for the power pick there in the top lane with the Rumble.
Okay, yeah, you know, I like red side third pick Rumble, because then you can throw the bans at like Galio or Ornn if you feel like. The two most common matchups into Rumble, and take those away. So it's kind of blind, but blind plus protected.
Also, the opportunity, though, to go towards Gwen, which we did see the other day, very successfully piloted. So I wonder if Flandre wants to try and go towards that. That was the old school kind of answer to the Rumble after those nerfs to his magic resist. But I imagine there will still be a lot of top lane focus as we move through these next bans.
Yeah, I mean, Flandre also likes Yorick. He could go Yorick into it. Aurora is available. So definitely a lot of possibilities here still up for them to choose from.
Okay, quirky ban coming out from the AL side, just trying to protect that Sivir down there in the bottom lane a little bit. Aurora going to be the other ban for T1 instead.
Yeah, so takes that one off that we were mentioning. Definitely a good one into the Rumble, a good viable flex pick for the solo laners.
Plus, it's a champion that I think most T1 fans don't want to see Faker on, so you're not worrying about denying it to yourself, you're denying it from AL at the same time. You're pretty happy overall, and Jhin will be the other ban here from AL, so double marksman banned out in the second half.
And I do like it, because AL, kind of, that's what their worst problem is going to be here, is going to be range. Like, if you opted in towards these poke champions, but instead it's Gumayusi slamming the Draven.
Yeah, and this is all confidence. This is all skirmishing from T1. They've got Draven, Nautilus, Xin, and Rumble. They are going to give us the action we wanted, Flowers. They are going to have fights pretty early on and play very aggressively here. Now, quickly the responses from AL. The Galio that we had previously mentioned as a possible pick into the Rumble, looking like it is going to be played in mid lane if we actually get the Ambessa lock in.
Yeah, that's curious. Obviously, you expect the Galio into Rumble. It seems like one of those natural counters. Then what do we got to get here?
I wonder if you just try and swap to an AD mid laner here for Faker. Could try and go for something like the Oner. You still end up in melee range with a Galio, which is not exactly great, but it's the Anivia.
Faker Anivia as the 5th pick of the draft here for T1.
That sounds painful for Galio. What is Galio gonna do? I mean, Anivia laning is gonna be annoying, and Anivia scales so incredibly well. This champion, it just makes it very difficult for short-range champs to play the game. So while usually you're like Wukong, Ambessa, and Galio is like a crazy engage, you know, maybe the Anivia can make that really difficult for them.
You jump in, you have a bad time, you try to run away, the wall goes down, an equalizer comes down, and you're having an equally bad time. So I love this adaptation from T1, and especially when you have a lane on this bot side to already try and play around and start to snowball, it gives you a very clear win condition in through the rest of the game.
I love seeing champions that almost never get picked, and the only thing that makes it better is when it's happening on the biggest stages with the best players in the world. And now we get to see Faker on the Anivia here in the second game against anyone's legend. I really want to see how well the wall placements are going to work in this one, because a properly placed wall can decimate a team fight.
So much on the line here for AL, going down 0-2 versus T1 as the LPL second seed. Would not be the way that you were expecting this one to try and start off, but T1 once again looking strong in game 1 versus the LPL. We'll have to see as we get onto the Rift if they can continue that trend.
Faker has a lot of good career win rates for a lot of champions, but Anivia 8-2, another very good one for him.
I feel like all of his win rates are like 70 or 80% on something.
It turns out if you win 5 World Championships, your win rates are pretty good.
One thing I also want to point out here on these runes, a lot of times you see the Summoner Spellbook matched by supports, but not this time around. It's Keria going for the Aftershock on the Nautilus for the extra fighting power early.
Also the phase rush on the Anivia. Usually you'd see things like the Comet in that because you want to try and poke out your opponent to lane. But Faker kind of realizing, well, the only way this goes south for me is if I end up getting caught out by a taunt or by that knock-up. So being able to very quickly pop that phase rush and keep out of harm's way from Tarzan and Shanks is going to be crucial in these fights.
Yeah, and he's also got the Scorch there for the painful lane phase here to apply more and more damage early on onto Shanks.
All right, we've still got a little bit of time before our minions make their way into the lanes to collide. So remember, if you've got a couple seconds to spare, log into your Riot account on lolesports.com and watch Worlds Live to earn some exclusive Worlds emotes, icons, and capsules. Maybe you'll get an Anivia skin in one of those capsules so you can play just like Faker does. We're looking at our junglers, both of them starting here in their red side quadrants. A little bit of a tongue twister here in the second game.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, everybody's going to be thinking about this bottom lane. It is Gumayusi Draven here. Into the Sivir lane, and already they are scrapping, getting some summoner spells really early. Spinning axes are finding their marks here.
Popping the barrier just to extend that trade as well and make sure that he can win out as much as possible. So already with that trade and also having T1 pathing down towards that bottom side means that there is a very high chance that we see Oner trying to make something happen in this bottom lane early.
Yeah, 100%, because, you know, Xin versus Wukong early, you're going to have the extra advantage. So you want to play around this passive stacking Draven and see if they can get a cash in.
Okay, Faker with that early push here in the mid lane, crashing that wave into Shanks' turret. As you can see, the same thing happening up there in top. Flandre crashing the wave into Doran. Flandre was the point of strength
Level 3
for
gank?
AL in that first game, but now we can see Tarzan coming down for the Wukong level 3 gank potential here in the bottom lane. Keria goes in with a dredge line. A lot of damage onto Kael. He flashes away. Gumayusi flashes after. One more spinning axe is going to do it, but no! Hope denies it as Keria has to flash over the wall to escape, and T1's marksman gets punished. Nice move from Tarzan early.
Tarzan gets there first. You wanted to see him, Flowers, with some early aggro. Well, he does it even on Wukong. This is something you don't expect. You think this champion is going to full clear, but Tarzan gets down there. Kael does survive. That is also the critical part. You know, Guma's going to flash forward to try and get his cash in, but Kael does gain just enough distance. Look how close that was.
That terror shot came in clutch. The auto attack was winding up, but Tarzan living up to the monkey trickster name in this one, immediately going bot side off of what was a very odd path because he did clear from his Krugs into Raptors, but now in mid lane,
Yeah, Shanks has to immediately get out of there. Justice Punch clears the wall, but now the follow-up there from the Flash Frost as T1 jumps in after the AL mid laner, but Shanks barely survives with Flash.
It's always what you do afterwards, after a level 3 gank, because then your opponent has the priority in jungle. And so Oner on the Xin is going to be able to grab the top side Scuttle Crab and then go into his re-clear. Raptors are respawning for him. The visit towards mid, getting Shanks' flash here is quite nice, but I think that minion probably saw Tarzan traverse over to the bottom Scuttle Crab. So they will know that he's at least going to get that one.
Okay, let's see here. Down in the bottom lane, Kael and Hope. They're feeling a little bit better than they did earlier, thanks to the Gumayusi not quite being able to secure that kill. But I still feel like Guma's Draven is going to be in the driver's seat in this head-to-head.
Yeah, it's a very early kill onto the Draven, which means that you hadn't really stacked up a lot of those adoration stacks. So still should be fine to continue to stack, and then if you can get that kill later on, should still be able to get a pretty sizable payout. So I'm wondering how much pressure wants to go to this bottom side, as it looks like Oner, with Flandre playing very aggressively on the top wave, wants to try and match a play.
Okay, creeping around from behind, trying to time this so Oner can be in position right as the wave is ready to crash. They don't want to allow Flandre to try to clear this out. Cannon Minion going to absorb it here with a star. Wind becomes lightning. Flandre with a flash away. Doran going to burn him down, but he needs a little bit more damage with the flame spitter. The turret was so heated up, it makes it a 1-for-1.
Flandre getting one back, and this trend of T1 diving Ambessa and it not working out will continue for a third time here at Worlds.
Very, very critical for Flandre to get the counter kill there. As he turns around and the tower shot does deliver. He's got teleport. He's using his teleport to immediately go back to that wave since it is pushing away from him. Doesn't want to drop any more minions. Does mean that Doran will have the teleport advantage here with the Rumble, and him getting close to Rumble ultimate might have a big effect.
This is a decent start here from AL. Kill on the bottom side. Now also Flandre being able to cover on the top half of the map. Also, the fact that you've invested this time as T1 into that top gank means that Tarzan has actually managed to continue to farm up and now match some of the shortcomings in the experience he had. But Flandre has hit level 6, eyeing up Faker on the Anivia in this mid wave.
He's looking for that public execution, and he finds it. Faker gets jumped on. Flandre going in, trying to proc the rebirth, and they get it. They've scrambled the egg, and there's the feat of warfare for anyone's legend.
Faker did not respect the ult combination. He tried to dodge the ultimate from Flandre, but then that Galio comes in, the ultimate layered on, he gets the knock up, and Faker flashes and dies and loses egg.
Exactly. Losing the egg is so big. The rebirth has a 4-minute cooldown, and Faker is so much more vulnerable now.
Flandre had to give up a lot, though, to make that play happen. Doran was able to shove in that wave topside very, very quickly. You can see it reflected in the CS difference there and the gold difference. Flandre up a kill, but bang on even when it comes to the gold.
The old men on the rift fighting it out there in the
Yes,
mid lane. Flandre makes his roam down, gets big value out of it. Let's see though, Anivia does still scale well, but you have to worry about repeat ganks. When you don't have the safety of your flash or your egg, you are definitely a vulnerable target.
Exactly. That passive is such a powerful defensive tool, just to dissuading plays being made against you, and to lose it alongside the flash, like you already said, Kobe. There's now this massive target on the back of the Anivia. 35 seconds until the Void Grubs spawn. The Infernal Drake already on the Rift. You're seeing a couple pings around that bottom side river area coming out from AL right now.
It is a question now of how much do T1 value AL's ultimates being down. Shanks won't have his up and available, which is such a massive tool for these fights, and maybe they think they can actually take the scrap with their own ultimates up and available. It will be a very short window of time where those Void Grubs are up, but at least at the moment, with the push on top for Gumayusi and for Keria, looks like they should be able to start up these Void Grubs on spawn and at least get one for themselves.
Yeah, meanwhile, AL feel really happy that because of the early gank on bottom side from Tarzan, you know, Hope got that cull very early on, so keeping the Sivir in mid and just farming and being content to just trade objectives. All right, my Sivir's just gonna mow down the minions in mid wave and then rotate over the dragon. You know, we don't want this early confrontation since you've got Xin and Nautilus Draven. And so they will go for the dragon, and they will continue to farm.
Exactly. Remember in game number 1, it was AL securing all 3 grubs, and then T1 securing that first Drake about a minute later. This time around, we swap them around. It's T1 going for the 3 grubs, and AL immediately handshaking the Drake in trade.
Yeah, and Kael even TPing up to make sure that Flandre could get that wave without having to worry about the T1 dive afterwards. And one of the nice things here for Shanks too is because you're up against double AP solo laners, he gets a very easy build path. You traditionally want to go for the Hollow Radiance anyway, but it doesn't really matter if he ends up against the Anivia or that Rumble. Realistically, he's going to get value either way out of that item, which is just great for the AL mid laner.
Yeah, and we'll see about the control over the mid lane because they're keeping Faker mid to match this Sivir. Both of them have extremely good wave clear, but one of them is getting ganked.
Okay, Hope? Nah, he's fine. He's Sivir. He's got a spell shield. He's okay.
And during that time, where Keria does show mid going for a possible gank, it actually allows Kael to get really deep vision. Look at that jungle. He just lit it up. 3 wards left by Kael, super deep. And you know that Tarzan can take advantage of that information. A Wukong plus a Galio ultimate being ready to go over the top definitely provides a lot of very threatening engage angles that Tarzan can go in. And they have perfect information on Oner because of those wards.
You can see the way Kael is playing, though, to match these roams from Keria is a little late on this one, though.
Yeah, Shanks could be in some danger as the axes spin. Shanks forced to flash again, but the Whirling Death doesn't quite catch him. The angle wasn't there, and Shanks survives.
And Kael was trying to move down towards this bottom side of the map to cover this play exactly, but thought nothing of it when T1 didn't show Keria on the bottom side. Starts to move towards mid instead, and that's when T1 pounce.
If I'm on AL, I am calling to gank Gumayusi now because no flash on Draven, and we've got a Wukong Galio. Shanks, of course, did have to use his flash to get away and teleports back out to mid lane, but that is going to be some decent threat.
Yeah, I mean, Shanks arrives. He takes a quick burst there from Faker, but luckily for Galio, he's pretty resistant to that magic damage, so not nearly as punishing as it might be if someone else would find themselves caught in the same situation. We still don't have any neutral objectives to fight over here for quite a while. Still about 3 minutes until the Drake spawns, 4 minutes until the Rift Herald makes its way onto the Rift. We do have the first major item completed with Oner grabbing the Sundering Sky here on his Xin Zhao, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him try to find a play.
Yeah, I think if you're on AL, though, I like what Kobe was talking about, trying to punish Gumayusi with no flash. You can try and shove in this mid-wave, Galio has the ult, Tarzan has his ult, try and use that to catch out Gumayusi on this bottom wave and still have that timer for it to cycle through before these next objective spawns. T1, though, starting to set up on this top half of the map. Looks like it's only to see if they can spot out some defensive vision, and they cleared out.
Yeah, Oner does get scouted here, clearing out the control ward. Again, T1 constantly looking for angles to attack this mid lane, but some decent wards from AL on the bottom side. Also do see the attempt from Keria there.
Look how much is invested by T1, though, on this bottom side of the map to actually try and keep Gumayusi safe. They have a ward in this bottom brush. They have a ward that's just timed out of Raptors, and they had a ward as well that was in that entrance into River. They've been trying desperately to make sure that nothing can happen to their AD carry on this bot side.
And speaking of AD carries, on the other side, it's Essence Reaver completed for Hope, so Infinity Wave clear from now on, alongside the fact that he's already got a 400 gold lead because of the First Blood, and his call is about to cash in just 10 stacks. AL's AD carry is set up to be in a great spot for this next objective fight.
Yeah, I mean, Sivir versus Draven starting out like this, where Draven has not gotten a cash in, had an early death, and Sivir has gotten a lot of free farm towards mid lane because of their assignments previously, is really, really good news for their side. We'll say, though, you know, we are still looking towards the next big team fight. That is going to be the one that actually moves the needle here in this game. As you say, it's only 50 seconds away now. And already trying to get some setup work done here. Kael, once again, he's moving in, trying to get a little bit deeper vision.
I'm curious how AL want to try and approach this fight, though, because at this stage you still have Gumayusi, his flashless, so I think that is going to be your focal point. It's Hope may try and stop them. But again, you're kind of in a position where it's difficult for you to hold on to pressure on this midway because it's against Anivia. And it looks like at least Tarzan identifying that, holding on here in mid, so that then you can play hyper aggressive on this mid wave and try and find something.
And you just saw it right there. Hope's boomerang blade, his ricochet, bouncing through the wave to stop Gumayusi's back as Doran goes in from a ton of damage here with a Flandre. The public execution plus the flash to try to get away. Flash Electro Harpoon coming out from Doran! But no! It's Flandre with reinforcement from Shanks for the shield, for the outplay to stop Doran in his
Wait a
tracks.
sec! Wait a sec!
Makes it a 1-for-1. Gumayusi from all the way across the map strikes true, and T1 starts the Drake.
It looks so good for AL, but Guma finds the cash in with the ult from the opposite side of the map, and now AL, they need to be careful.
Yeah, AL's got to be careful here. Kael gonna have a nice keeper's verdict to make the fight unfair. Keria is your first target as Oner wants to go in after Kael now. Loses half his HP. Boomerang blade takes Keria down to 150. Faker making his way forward, but T1's not gonna find anybody. They also
Doran's
using
in behind.
the teleport now. Doran coming up behind him. The Rumble's already arrived into the fight as Tarzan tries to find some damage onto Faker. Shanks looking to cut him off. The egg, again the rebirth is triggered as Flandre's made his way into the fight and Gumayusi goes back over the wall. Tarzan kills Faker and T1 is on the run. Keria Dredgelines back to safety as Shanks dives in beside Kael. A double kill for Tarzan and the Draven is dead again. Anyone's legend comes to life in Shanghai and they're at a 2,000 gold lead.
They turn the play back around on T1. Doran tries to get there faster. T1 try to collapse onto Hope, but it's anyone's legend who may have just blown this game open.
And Tarzan's Wukong, he does so much work prioritizing this champ, gets onto Faker, the double ultimates there, he did so much. Got Oner's ult out, puts Faker into the egg, and Tarzan will finish up that kill there, while the rest of the team, they had brought Flandre in, he had teleported in, and they allow the chase. Kael knows Guma's got no flash, so he's dead meat. Gets him against the wall, and they get the second kill for Tarzan's Wukong.
Tabe celebrating as he always does when his teams do well, and I think he's going to be very happy with that one. The fact you get bot tower off it, you got so many kills, you're accelerating key carries like the Wukong and this Ambessa in a position where with our Rift Herald now up and available, you can really start to focus down people like Gumayusi in this fight who has no flash.
Exactly, man. Guma is in some serious danger. He's got his Bloodthirster, so at least that's going to allow him to power through some of the chip damage. He's got his Serrated Dirk for a bit more power if he is not immediately bursted, but you know anyone's legend is looking after him. They want to make sure they can pop this Draven any chance they get. Tarzan's Wukong with his Trinity Force, with his Flash. This guy's going to be a massive threat in any fight, and right now, he's starting up the Rift Herald.
Shanks is on the opposite side of the map, though. His TP is available, but they will need to bring him in if they want to try and make a play. In T1 trying to scope out the area as that goes.
Yeah, Keria jumps in here with the dredge line, finds Tarzan, but to no avail. Kael jumps in with the point blank keeper's verdict. Shanks has arrived. They're looking at Gumayusi and they find the taunt. Guma's already down. T1 are routed as they try to escape from the pit. Keria now focused, forced back again by Flandre. Doran's gonna get time with this bottom lane tier 1 turret. He might be able to take that, but it's 2 more kills for anyone's legend. It's Rift Herald to anyone's legend. It's another fight for anyone's legend.
As soon as T1 step into the river, AL close the trap shut. They teleport in, Shanks is able to lock him up. Even with Oner's ultimate knocking him back for a second, he still moves in, finds the taunt, and they kill the Draven again.
Excellent stuff from anyone's legend. The setup with these wards deep to try and make that play happen was just perfect. And now even look at the top side, right? Sure, Doran got this tower in the bot wave, but I think Flandre might be able to stick around and get that top tower. We're going to have a look at the fight as Kael, the TP was beautiful, sets up with a double knock-up, and even though Oner gets a nice disengage, it doesn't matter. Able with the phase rush to get that taunt that they need. Oner does pick up one on the backside. But there's just so many members of AL there. There's just no hope of escape.
Yeah, beautiful engage from Kael. Getting the double knock-up, getting the chase down. And with this Rift Herald, they also are going to have the extra tool to take down these outer defenses from T1 and push that gold lead even further.
And when you look at AL coming into this head-to-head against T1, this head-to-head of the LPL against a team that has never lost to them in a best-of-5 at Worlds before, I think you're looking at Tarzan and Kael to have that synergy that they had back at the peak of this team at MSI, to be able to make plays and work together to find these opportunities to really take the fight to T1, and they did it right there.
T1 are trying to find a pick onto Flandre, though. They're matching Faker into this top side with 35 seconds until Dragon. Faker has no TP. He used it to cover mid-wave after they lost that last fight. So AL going to have to be a little bit careful of keeping Flandre safe before they realize exactly where T1 are on the map.
And Hope's got Infinity Edge, so that means this Sivir has scaled. This Sivir does some big damage. Have to be very careful about their positioning. Faker himself a little worried about his positioning.
Yeah, he's getting caught out here by Flandre. Public execution, though, not lined up
TPs
correctly. Now Flandre has to flash away. T1 committing to look to find the kill onto the Ambessa. Oner goes after it, needs the third talent strike, and Doran's damage is enough, but off to the side at the same time. Hope is going in. It's another kill traded back as Gumayusi dies once more. Anyone's legend. They want a second, and they'll find it. A double kill to Hope as T1 reinforcements are coming in, but they're a little too slow. Rift Herald summoned up here in the mid lane. Tarzan, Kael, and Hope gonna knock down the tier 1 turret, and now they're gonna drive it straight into the tier 2. Tarzan at the wheel. He'll slam that one right on in. Equalizer from Doran needs to be used just to clear the wave as Hope knocks down the minion spawning for T1. Faker's gonna take the turret up there in the top lane, and it's AL with more men on the Rift looking at Drake number 3.
Yeah, Hope's got an Infinity Edge and he wants to use it. He flashes over to follow Guma. He knows. He wins those.
And it's such a good counterpunch because you see that play in the top side. Kael again flashing over, immediately picks off Gumayusi and sets up for this play. And Keria, trying to keep his AD carry alive, only gives more money into the hands of anyone's legend. And it's at the beginning a good play from T1. We think, yes, trade Dragon, you can't really fight. But now they're on towards Atakan. Flandre, they're looking for his TP.
Okay, T1 not afraid to start this up. It's a 2,500 gold lead for anyone's legend, but nobody's here just yet. Otacon already down to 5,000 HP. Tarzan goes in for the Cyclone. Shanks ready to arrive with a grand entrance. Tarzan's low, and the Whirling Death's gonna find the execution. T1 still fighting back as the Otacon is slain by Oner, but he dies in the middle of the fight. Public execution finds no target. Gumayusi on the run. Hope, Flandre, and Kael still looking for a little bit more. It's a 2-for-1 for anyone's legend, but T1 critically takes the Otacon.
Oh, the bloodbath continues, and they do get the Otacon in the scramble there because T1 focused down Tarzan. They get the kill there. 2-for-1 is a little bit of extra gold, but you would definitely rather have the Otacon and the extra experience and stats that you get from that. Afterwards, though, AL will make you pay for it even more. They get the top tower and secondary tower on bottom side. That is a lot of gold.
I was going to say, I think that's third item for Hope now off the back of it, but it's a Hail Mary call for T1. They know they're in dire straits. Tarzan goes in a little bit early, and it means that there's no real follow-up for him. He falls before Atakan goes down, and it's a scramble from anyone's legend to just find these kills then after T1 get the snipe. Flandre just barely whiffing on the public execution. Could have given that little bit more over to AL, but T1 managed to get the objective.
Unfortunately for T1, the shutdown went to Keria to the Nautilus. And so it did not get picked up by Guma there. But still, they are definitely looking to find more picks. They have to get some burst damage here on someone because Hope, 3 items now. I mean, this Sivir is going to rip.
You really, really would have liked to get that cash in for the Draven. It looked like the Whirling Death had him, but going over to the Nautilus is so frustrating when you consider the 3,000 individual gold lead for Hope as the 80 carry here with the Sivir. They're moving into the enemy jungle now, and Kael again just slams Oner into the wall, but now he's in danger. Tarzan and Kael both so low, it's 2 dead on the AL side, but Hope is still alive. Faker flashes back over the wall, but Shanks is burning. Flandre caught in the middle of everyone. Anyone's legend have overplayed their hand, and T1 is ready to punish. Hope should be next to die, and Guma cashes in. Only Shanks still stands. That could have been the entire game. A dredge line from Keria, and Oner is ready to follow up. The the wind becomes lightning and strikes Shanks down. Ace for nothing, for one, for nothing, T1.
You cannot make mistakes against T1 in playoffs. This is a team that will fight you every chance they get. And a gold lead and a victory that seemed defined for AL is now slipping into T1 having a victory and a lead in this game.
That was like a 3.7 or 0.8 thousand gold lead that AL had before this fight. But look at T1, they kite back through their jungle. Even though Kael gets his ultimate off before he dies, Faker still has flash, and it buys time for the rest of T1 to join and punish the super deep invade from AL.
And Shanks is basically useless in this fight. He doesn't have the ultimate up and available. He's trying to get into the fight for a lot of the time, and even the reset on the Poppy just meant that there wasn't the follow-through that they really wanted to.
Oh, the jacket comes off.
Oh, man.
That's a lean in 4 move if I've ever seen one.
They're locking in. This gold lead, gentlemen, was 4,000 gold for AL, and now T1 with the huge swing. This was AL's game for 22 minutes, and now T1 have the slight gold lead. They have the pedals in the Otacon. This game just got suplexed.
Exactly, getting more petals for these kills as they exit through the jungle, and now T1 set up with their own gold lead. It actually just fully funded the hex plate here for Guma as well, the bruisery, tanky Draven build where we see him pop the ult really early on.
And crucially, they didn't actually have to burn a lot of Summoner's spells to make that one happen. So now with the Dragon in 25 seconds, you still have T1 in control of the area. They can fish for picks. They can make it awkward for this low-range composition to enter into River, thanks to things like the Anivia and the Rumble.
I still think if AL can keep space and keep Hope auto-attacking, they do have a lot of damage potential. You know, Tarzan and Shanks here have to have a really good setup to the team fight, though.
Okay, it's T1 with control over the river. They're going to start up the Drake. They have the control ward inside the pit. They're going to step back, group up as a clump, as 5 towards the bottom side of the river. AL looking for the approach. Tarzan wants to flank and he flashes over the wall. Now Faker's going to try to get away. Hero's entrance knocks up 3. T1 trying to scramble. The damage comes down and Flandre flashes back over the wall as Oner's first to die. T1 on the run. Kael wants a wall slam, but he can't quite find it. Hope goes in for Guma, and he cuts him down. AL 2 for nothing in the fight.
It's also 2 for 2 on Dragons, but the Baron is up and they're teleporting up to the top side of the map. Are AL going to go for more?
It looks like they will, understanding that this could be their moment to try and bring the game back in their favor. That fight, that flash from Tarzan, the TPs though.
Faker jumping into a spot that he should not be. He doesn't get slammed to the wall, but he's far back enough that he cannot stay alive. Hope runs after Doran. The auto attacks cutting through the Rumble. A little bit more is needed, and a little bit more will be found. Keria presents himself on a silver platter, and it's AL eating good. Ace for the LPL squad.
And AL find their moment to fight back. It looked like T1 had found that glimmer of hope, but the door is slammed in their face, and Shanghai comes alive for anyone's legend.
T1 were worried about the Baron, but they should have been worried about their lives. Teleporting in, AL will take from them everything. The gold lead has ping-ponged right back.
The gold lead returns to where it once stood for anyone's legend. Now 4,500 gold ahead again as we take a look at the fight that made it all happen. No, this is the teleport in from Faker afterwards.
It was so aggressive from Faker. Could have gone towards his own tower, but not having any sort of ability to get out of here means that AL pounce immediately, and even Hope here having the support of Kael means that Doran can't really go aggressive on the play and hope that he can trade something back. And even Keria trying to again support a dying teammate ends up giving over his life on the back of it.
Okay.
Look at these guys. All right, AL with the gold lead back in hand, and the Baron buff, so they can take a lot more. That little dip there is just a blink in the radar now. AL looking to siege.
AL with their Red Bull Baron power play, want to get as much of a lead with it as they can. This is the 6th turret that they will take this game, which means the only targets left are inside the enemy base.
They're also a heavily Baron-reliant team. You are very short range, but they're looking for Doran.
Immediately, though, it's T1 ready for their counterattack, but the counterattack doesn't hit hard. The Redemption's going to heal off pretty much everything from the Equalizer. Tarzan's clone's the only thing that took meaningful damage, so T1's going to clear the wave away, but the cannon minion is still alive. The tier 3 turret's below half HP. Everybody on AL is feeling confident, and without the Equalizer, that's a big team fight tool that T1 no longer has.
Both lanes being pressured by AL. Gumayusi has to step forward to clear out these cannon minions because it's the only way you have a chance, but it opens up for AL to look for plays. Kael fishing for the Poppy ult, doesn't go for it.
Yeah, it's so hard to push on Anivia always. That's why this Baron buff is so important for AL in their attempts to siege. The Baron buff allowing so much of this extra damage to come through, empowering those cannon minions, empowering both lanes.
All right, top lane about to be the next target. Flandre wants to crash the wave. Still 1/3 of the cooldown left on the Equalizer. Tarzan takes a little bit of damage here, but again, it's nothing super serious. Shanks leads the charge. Tier 3 turret drops to a colossal smash from Shanks as AL has found their way into the enemy base. T1 scrambling, regrouping between the top and mid lanes, as they do want to continue trying to defend the turret. AL's gonna take their time though. Now they focus on the top lane, tier 3. Flandre's already got the wave. Hope steps up. Second tier 3 turret eliminated as T1 continue to retreat. Anyone's Legend still playing it nice and slow. Inhibitor under siege top side first. Hope plus the cannon minion, more than enough to take that one down. Mid lane's already down. Those two inhibitors within 10 seconds of one another, nearly perfectly synced up as Anyone's Legend take their exit.
They look at that 40-second Drake timer and say, right, we've got enough pressure. Mid and top wave's going to be pushing in our favor. We can reset, pick up a completed item, a 4th item for Hope. And he should be able to carry through this next engagement. I think for T1, maybe you just have to let it slip. A 3rd dragon, buy some time. Hope this Anivia can get to a position where she can be a massive threat in fights.
Yeah, AL here moving in 4 items now for Hope as well. The Sivir, the damage will be insane, bouncing back and forth, cutting the healing as well.
And look at the footwear of Anyone's Legend. 4 tier 3 Mercury treads purchased. The ability for the Anivia to try to do anything meaningful to so many of these champions is so restricted, and you can see T1 are making the call. We cannot go fight for this. It's not soul. It's not worth it. AL with a 6,500 gold lead now find themselves also at soul point. The Whirling Death used to just try to maybe get the Miracle Steal. That cooldown's going to be available again before the Baron would be a fight, and that fight is less than 2 minutes from now.
And that's why you're seeing them just try and give as much gold towards Faker. He has the Seeker's Arm Guard for protection. Would love him to try and finish off his magic pen item, but unfortunately for them, you're not getting that time as T1 tries to clear out the mid wave while the bot siege begins.
Yep, no more Baron though, means considering Faker has the wave clear of an entire team as Anivia, he can take care of those super minions. Everybody else groups up to defend the only remaining tier 3 turret, but over the wall goes Tarzan. Faker's got to try to stay safe into the back line. Public execution onto Faker. Redemption's not there in time. The egg has already been procced, but he will not be reborn. A kill onto Oner follows. AL's already found 2, and they want Gumayusi. Doran and Keria will be next to die as T1 are wiped off of Summoner's Rift. Anyone's Legend with a clean ace to win Game 2.
The Panda Warriors are coming alive in Game 2 and showing that in Shanghai, this city will belong to them.
Beautiful counter from AL in game number 2 to even it up 1-1. Analysts, how are we feeling now?
Wow, we are amazed and elated at Anyone's Legend taking a game